This is To Catch a Con Man, Season 2, In the Victim's Voices. I will take you on another fascinating journey, but this time you will hear from other men and women that, like me, have fallen prey to the various cons, scams, and deceits by one of the most prolific and successful con artists to live and operate in the Midwest. You know him as Ricky Dugo.
Could $100,000 sustain my life? It couldn't even come close. So listen to me. If I was going to be in some sort of con, scam, conniving thing, it'd be for millions. It wouldn't be for $100,000.
To Catch a Con Man is brought to you by Studio 847 in Long Grove, Illinois. Listener discretion is advised, as some of this programming contains language and content that might be offensive to some listeners.
Join me on this adventure to catch a con man. This is Adam Albin. Thank you for listening in. You just heard from The Godfather, a man like so many others who fell for the Rolex and car wash scam. As the very well-polished Ricky Dugo simply rinses and repeats these tried and true cons in 2010. The identical and serial scams that date far back into the 1990s. Has to make you wonder how this guy has not been taken out of circulation in a very general sense. Coming up next in this two-part interview, we will hear from the man that came into this podcast during Seasons 1, The Perfect Storm. A victim that should never have happened, as I had already met with Lake County's white-collar crime investigative team, and the case was slowly progressing. Out of every victim I have found or that's found me, this one hurts me the most, as I couldn't do more to protect him, and due to the impending storm that was brewing on the horizon, Ricky Dugo was somehow able to evade detection, and he slides under the radar to decimate Lou. Part 1 of his interview is next. November 16th at 12:30, we're conducting the Lou interview for this coming Season 2 of To Catch a Con Man, In the Victim's Voices. On with me from a distance in the studio, we've got Lou. Thanks for the time, Lou. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
So basically, Lou, you're part of Season 1. You come in about 3/4 of the way through the podcast. Basically, you were the guy that wasn't supposed to happen. So I want to start by saying that I'm sorry that it happened to you. We'll get into that at the end, but basically I just wanted to, introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about what you do and when it was, dates and thereabouts of when you met Ricky Dugo.
Yeah, it's not the most proud moment of my life, and sometimes I don't even like to remember and I try to forget the times and dates, but I do. I mean, it affects you, and constantly and continually affects you. If you're not thinking about it every few hours, you're definitely thinking about it daily, because it affects me still today daily. And as we've discussed in the past, I feel a lot of the blame on myself, and I think that's the whole part of the game. You gotta forgive yourself first, and I hope this is a way for all of us to heal a little bit.
I love the way that you're thinking. I know what that feels like, to blame yourself, and I know what it's like as well, Lou, to come out on the other side of it after you have forgiven yourself and you realize that you were targeted, and not to blame. So let's go into it. Like, what, you're, if I remember correctly, you're about 2019. You're one of the last that I know.
Yeah.
So
I met him before that, and him and his cars, and he just happened to come into the shop. We have a high-end sports car that we used to sell. Came in with his very, very adorable kids, showing off how, driving up in his big sports car and showing off to the kids the knowledge of sports cars that he has, and, really talking it up like he's going to be a buyer of one of these days. This is one of the ones he wants, and so that's how the first time that I met him. And then that was significantly before all of this. That was way before 19, I believe. I wouldn't even know, but it was way before 19.
Great. And so in 2019, your career has taken you to working at a high-end car dealership in Libertyville. Yeah. Tell me, like, what you do.
So I just, I've been there so long in the business. People don't stay very much. They go from store to store. I've been there for a long time, and I have a base of clientele that really trust me and come back to me over and over again. And I've made a good career out of it. It's my second career, but I made a good career out of it. It's a great place to work. Really good people, and you meet a lot of different people, a lot of different situations. So, when I don't know if you want me to jump right in, but I got a call out of the blue from Ricky saying that his family's is staying at a hotel while they're buying another house, blah, blah, the lines that, now I'm sure has been heard over and over again. And he didn't have a credit card, and he needed help to stay at the hotel for a couple more days. I don't know how I got picked. I really have no idea why was I the lucky one? I have no idea. But me, I've helped people. I always try to help people, and no problem. I met him over at the hotel, put my card on file for him, met the wife, the kids again, adorable, beautiful family from the outside looking in, right? It looks like a wonderful family, and I felt good helping them. I think, it was not a big deal,
Yeah, so I want to just do a quick review.
Yeah.
So, Dugo comes in at some point to the showroom. He's looking for a high-end sports car. At least that's the game.
Yeah.
You and him at some point exchange phone numbers.
Not even. I mean, he just called the store.
Oh.
I never gave him myself. He called the store, and it was asked for me. I don't even know how he remembered me, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm not that memorable of a guy.
I doubt that. So, all right. So he tracks you down.
Yeah.
And he tells you that he's about to get kicked out of the hotel.
Yeah.
And I'm paraphrasing from our first meeting in person, you'd mentioned that he was about to get kicked out of the hotel, that in order for his kids to stay in like the school district, he needed somebody to come and help him out and pay this hotel bill.
Yeah, because the house that he was supposedly buying or moving into, they hadn't closed on it yet.
Right. So when you go to the hotel, you meet his family, and they're all there?
Yep.
And so his kids and his wife are there when you get there?
Yep.
And when you pay the bill, are they also there? I mean,
they're all there, yeah. So
they know that. So I just want to I want to ask a very specific question. So Rick and Shannon Dugo are both present when you pay the bill.
Yeah. Yep.
Got it.
They're like in the, you know how a hotel has the little lounge area in front of the desk. They're over there, and I'm at the desk. Yeah.
Right. Do you think that, and I know that this may be an interesting line of questioning, but do you think that Shannon knew that you were paying the bill for them?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Did she say thank you?
Yes.
Okay. Did it ever come up, like, did Rick ever mention to Shannon why you were there to pay the bill? I mean...
No.
Okay. All right. So we'll keep on going.
It was more like, here, this is, hi, Shannon, this is Lou. Yeah, that's, you know, it was just basically, yeah, not a super lot of interaction that way, no.
Understood. So that's a really nice thing that you did. I thought it was. It's an exceptionally stand-up thing to do. It's a Menchie thing to do. So what happens, I mean, after that? I mean, does he promise to pay you back within a couple of days? Okay.
Yes. Going to get the card from, what was this story? Was going to get the card. The card was locked up at one of the car washes or so, I don't know, something like that.
Okay. And he just tells you he's going to pay you back within a couple weeks, a month or something.
No, quick, you know, he said right around, I'll have it to you in a week, something like that.
Okay. So then what happens? Does he contact you again within that week? Are you hitting him up asking him for the money a week later?
No, I'm not bothering him at all. He reached out, you know, a lot of this stuff I don't remember, and I apologize, but the timetable and all that stuff. He came into the store, you know, you know how he is, big, right? Big personality, big, you know, talker. He was talking to management, and they were walking him around the store like he was, you know, like something, you know, and looking back, he was absolutely nothing, but, you know, because he had all this knowledge about car washes, and he was talking to everybody, you know, so he was like, he embedded himself into the store almost a little bit, you know, like got to know this guy, got to know that guy. Nobody got sucked in like me, but you know, I mean, everyone knew when he was coming. Let's put it that way.
Right. So he just makes his presence known. That's all part of the con man way.
Yeah,
big presence.
Yeah.
Ricky Dugo's in the house. You know, let's roll out the red carpet for him.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Okay. So what happens after you give him the money?
Then there's some of this stuff I don't want to, like we talked about, I don't want to get into like all the details, but he, at a point, I don't know how it happened, but he's got this way of, you know, getting me, what he gave me a signed piece of paper saying that he was going to give me, I think it was like $45,000 if I helped him out with getting these watches. And I said, okay, no problem. I mean, that sounds like a fair deal to me. So we did. And then, you know, I gotta tell you, probably as soon as I did that, I started feeling like, what am I doing? I know this doesn't seem right. And he kept reassuring. You know, I don't know how much I can get into because my stuff is still in limbo a little bit, so I don't want to get into too much of it. But it was like,
pay me, I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today, right? So it was always, it's coming. But when I got that thing signed by him saying he was going to give me $45,000 if I just help him out with this, I thought, well, I got something in writing. This makes sense, right?
Sure. So the $45,000 that he's going to give you, it's for Rolex watches?
Yes.
And I'm just going to throw out, I mean, where is he? Is he taking you to CD Peacock for these watches? Yeah,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
You know all about it.
Yeah, this is rinse and repeat, Lou. This is this CD Peacock Rolex scam has been going on.
Nice. They treated him like he was royalty.
Right, because they've been dealing with him since the 1990s.
Wow.
And he's brought, I mean, I'm going to guess, I've said this on another podcast episode, at least 40 or 50 people for this same rinse and repeat Rolex watch scam where he gets victims to buy watches, put watches in their name. He takes the watches. And let me just tell you, do you know what he did with the watches?
I have no clue. Well, the story he told me was, I'm not a watch guy. I don't know anything about Rolexes. I have my nephews, and they all drool about it. They all buy them and own them. And he was telling me something about trading in these two watches to the other CD Peacock to get this blue-faced, I don't even know what it was, some blue-faced Rolex or something. And then I even asked him at a point, I said, oh, great, did you get it? Take a picture of it and show me. He never took a picture of it and showed me.
Right. So most likely, again, theory, and based on the many people that I know that this same scam happened to, this is an absolute con. Most likely these watches ended up downtown Chicago on Jewelers Row at a place owned by Howard Fromm. Most likely he ended up pawning the watches for cash right away.
Yeah.
So keep on going. You've got a piece of paper where he's going to give you $45,000 for these watches.
Yeah.
What happens?
So then, what's the next? So, then he starts talking about selling the businesses. Oh no! First he told me that he had some patent on some. You probably know about it. Some patent on some pipe for smoking marijuana. I don't smoke marijuana, so I have no idea what this was. I had no idea what he was talking about. He's had some patent, and he's going to make, I don't know, $12 million on this patent with his partner. I had nothing to do with that, but that's where one of the monies he was getting, right? And then he's going to sell he has a buyer for his car washes, right? So that's the next thing. Oh, he's got a buyer for the car washes. He's going to make some big money on the car washes. But it's foggy to me because it's like almost I intentionally want to try to forget this stuff. But it was like, then at a certain point, then came in, oh, he's going to get a divorce. So this is going on, and nothing. I'm getting nothing. Like, I'm not getting a penny back. I'm not getting anything. I'm stuck with this stuff. I've already had to pay, like, for the monthly payment on the Rolexes. I've already, I was losing money. Money was going. Then did COVID happen, or then he told me about the divorce, or did the divorce garbage start happening, where he had to sell off his assets. He had to sell off the cars. He had to sell off his motorcycle. But because he had to sell them off, then he had to replace them so that it is so confusing to me. It just makes you laugh, wondering how the heck did you fall for all of this stuff. But it all made sense when I was living it. And then I don't know if I'm jumping too ahead, but then COVID happened. And you know what happened with COVID? You could tell a bank that, look, I'm in a little bit of financial trouble. Everything paused, and I think it lingered. And I think everything paused in his investigation too, which made me sink in deeper because of that, because of COVID, I think I got stuck in deeper and deeper because I didn't have to dish out as much money because we postponed all the payments and stuff. I know I'm jumping too much, and I'm hoping I'm making some sense. I don't know.
Yeah, we're going to make sense of it, Lou.
Okay.
So we've got Rolexes. So he's got you for $45,000 in Rolexes.
Yeah.
When we met in person, you told me the patent that he was selling you on as a business partner.
That's it.
The patent was a marijuana weed ingestion device or some way.
Some weird.
And then the other item that you had mentioned was a partnership in the soap polymer business.
Yeah, that was later on. Yeah.
So let's talk about those two. So what does he ask you? Is he saying it's like if you go in on this Rolex deal, or if you do this and this for me, you'll be a future partner on these business opportunities?
I don't know when it was, but at a certain point, he said, "I'm going to give you," and he said, "I'm going to get you $1 million. You'll be able to retire. We're gonna do this together. I'm going to need you to, do this and that, all these other things." But basically, his promise to me was $1 million. Now, people listening to this podcast are going to like, what an idiot. How do you believe this man? But that's basically the promise. I wasn't going to be in a business with him. He never said that. He just basically said after all this stuff comes in for him, which is going to be like $12 million, he's going to give me $1 million.
Okay.
And that's how. And you got to understand my situation too. Yes, my career is good, but I went through some bad times, and maybe that's why I was picked.
I know about your bad times, Lou.
Yeah.
I know all about them, and you know what? You paid the piper. You did the right thing. I know all about them. Yeah. So this isn't about your past. Yeah. This is about your present and your future.
Yeah.
So don't. I want you to stay positive, at least in that respect. So, this is, it's tough because, like you said, like it's hard for people to hear the promise of $1 million or the promise of a triple your money or the promise of a double your money. But this guy was good.
It wasn't at a certain early on, I really believed it. I mean, I believed that I was going to get a check for $1 million. I mean, whatever it was, his personality, because I met the family, because I thought I kind of meant something to him. I thought I was his friend. I really believed him. And obviously all of us who were affected, looking back, we know how we were fooled. How could we be fooled? But nobody, unless you lived it, nobody knows. Nobody knows how believable it all sounded.
Well, no, and that's the whole purpose of doing this is to just educate people on what to look out for and how to protect yourself. But Lou, I mean, he's one of the best of the best, and the fact that he brought his kids around to the dealership, that you've met his family, you've met his wife, she sees the good deeds that you're doing, so do the kids. You'd think that would mean something like to normal people, right? That would be forging a friendship and really being like a savior to them. But instead, Ricky takes you as a victim, and for him, you're just dollar signs. So it's definitely one of these things where I think it is hard for people to understand. However, when that sort of facade and that sort of ultimate con where the family comes into it and you see him as something completely for what he isn't, it's hard not to believe it, because he is that believable. He is that good.
It does, yes, and then it comes to the point where you need it to be true. Oh God, this has to be yours. Oh my God, this has to be true. This has to be true.
Yeah. So let's go back really quick, Lou. So $45,000 in Rolexes.
Yep.
if I read the report right, a bunch of vehicles. How did the vehicles come into this?
Well, I was on the car. No, which was first? I don't know. You probably know better than I do now. Was it the motorcycle first or the car?
I don't. I didn't see anything with linear order. I just know that there was a Harley Davidson, or there were motorbikes.
There was a Harley and there was a Dodge.
And then there were Honda dirt bikes.
There was a Harley with the other person too.
Yeah. So how did that come about?
Because something to do with either it was the divorce or the selling of the car washes. That he had to have these. Maybe it was the divorce. He had to have these assets because he gave away he sold the assets. He needed to have these assets, or else. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So
explaining it right.
I think the way that you explained it to me in person was, he wanted to try to shield himself from being too exposed to the upcoming divorce, and he didn't want to pay his soon-to-be ex-wife Shannon too much money, and so he was either hiding what he had, and so he needed somebody else to help him out, right?
Right. Yep.
So you're gonna help him out. What do you help him out with?
Car.
And
the motorcycles.
Okay, the car was a Dodge Challenger, Hellcat.
Some black car. I don't know. I don't know if I sell cars, but I don't know anything about cars.
Yeah, so that it was a Charger Hellcat, which is $100,000 Dodge with a gigantic motor.
It was used. It wasn't that much.
Okay. And then a Harley Davidson.
Yeah.
And did he take you to the Harley store?
Yeah. And do you know which one it was? It's way down south somewhere.
Probably, is it like near Addison?
Was it like, I don't remember the name of it, but once again, they all seem to know him there.
Yeah. So again, he had places. He had like places that loved him because he brought them so much business, we'll call it, but they were all shams. So, and then how did the Honda dirt bikes come up?
It was something about having assets or something, showing me, and then he was going to store them at the warehouse, whatever warehouse he supposedly had.
All right. So, I mean, at this point, all in, ballpark the number that he's got you for in terms of cash and then assets.
Well over 100,000.
Yeah. Crazy. Okay. What happens after he's got all of these things? Is he still communicating with you? Is he still bringing his...
Now I'm starting, to freak out, right? Because bills are being paid. Bills are due. I'm crashing because there's no way I can make the money to pay all this stuff. And so I'm constantly texting, reaching out, and he just keeps postponing and postponing and postponing. At one point, I was so desperate for anything. He met me at a Costco parking lot and gave me $300. Oh boy, whoop-de-doo. But like it was a big. Oh, this is a big thing. $300.
Yeah.
Really?
$300,000 on $100,000 con, huh? Yeah. It's 0.03%. So, I mean, bills are piling up. You can't make these payments. Are you letting him know, like, hey, man, you put me in a pickle here?
I told him many times I wouldn't have to file bankruptcy, and when if my wife ever finds out I'm done, she's gonna leave me. And he kept, you didn't tell her, did you? You didn't tell her, did you? So I'm like, oh God, maybe I can't tell her, and I didn't.
Yeah, so he messes with you psychologically to make sure that you have no support.
It makes me feel. At times, he's making me feel guilty that I'm questioning him.
Right. Yeah, it's him playing the victim.
You know.
So
yeah, exactly.
So how many months that goes by like that he's got all these vehicles and, you know, he's going out on the Harley? I mean, I used to see him riding the Harley, and I definitely saw him driving the black Charger around.
Well, I don't want to jump too far ahead, and maybe you can fix this when you edited it. But I got to be honest with you, that was one of the happiest days. Is when the cops pulled the Hellcat in front of me, and I got the car back.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're going to go into that at the end. Yeah. I did not know that. So keep on going. You know, I'll just timestamp. Talk to me a little bit about after he's got you for the cars, you know, the money, you know, these Rolexes. How many months goes by before, you know, you've had enough?
I had enough relatively quickly, probably 6. I mean, I think it's quick, 6 months in, but I was desperate for it to be true, and I would just cling on whatever he said, you know, and just believe him. Okay, I would go to bed at night staring at the ceiling and thinking, and it would be literally like, okay, it's going to be tomorrow. Tomorrow comes and it's not. Oh, it's going to be, and then the weekend would come. Okay, now it's not going to be until Monday. So it was literally just, I mean, he just strung you along. But it always sounded like maybe it was just wishful thinking that it's going to be true. It's going to be true. This is going to work. This is going to work. It's really going to happen, and all this grief is going to be worth it. And I just. Maybe you just force yourself to try to believe that that's true.
Yeah. It's psychological. So, you know, there's one thing, Lou, you know, the money's bad enough, but the psychological mind fuck this guy plays is something of epic proportions. I talk about this. Yeah.
He played on my, because I'm not super religious, but I'm a good Catholic boy, and he played on that. You know, he would claim that he's praying for this, you know. I bet he never prayed a day in his life, and he would play off, you know, because I'm a big family guy, and he would play off of that. And wait till I meet your wife, and this and that. We're gonna have such a good time, and this. So he's like trying to embed himself into my family and friends, and I was willingly gonna take it. Just because I needed hope that this was going to be true, you know, because I was in a dangerous spot, really.
Yeah.
Not just financially. I mean, it was. I don't know. I mean, I must have. Who knows what I did mentally? What this caused me, but I don't know how I stayed. I don't know how people see. At least. You had the outlet of actually of getting them, you know, which none of us did. But I know I'm bouncing again. I know. Hopefully you'll clean this up.
No, we're good, man. You're good. Just keep on. I like this. Like, I want to know how you feel. I mean, this is.
Yeah. It was just. It was a desperate hope that it was real, and I was just clinging to that. And like I said, I think. If it wasn't for COVID, it would have ended a lot sooner. COVID just delayed the inevitable. You know, court. I can't get into court. Court's delayed for the divorce. Court's delayed for this. Court's delayed for that. You know, so it was such a convenient excuse for him to use. Yeah, I mean, it came at like the worst possible time for all of us, but it came at the worst possible time for this situation. I mean, it was perfect for him because I'm sure he strung along a lot of people because of COVID.
So the episode that you come up in is called The Perfect Storm, and it talks specifically about certain delays that had happened with the case, with the investigation, but a lot of it hinges, Lou, on that delay with the pandemic.
Yeah.
Something nobody could see, and it could only be fortuitous to him. Because not only was he able to continue to ride you out, but he was also collecting stimulus money from the government,
Yeah.
and then people couldn't be evicted, so he's not paying his rent, like he's living in, at the time, Dick Duran's house in Lake Forest, and he's not paying the rent, because he can't get evicted because people are protected now.
Yeah.
So you're right. There's that delay, and those delays were just crushing, because it not only crushed your hopes, but like for all of the victims before you that like were waiting on him. Again, I didn't know about you, Lou, until 2021, maybe late 2020. And hearing that there was somebody else out there that happened after I went to Lake County in 2018 was absolutely crushing to me. And I still feel like there's something about those delays that was so unfair to you specifically, because you should never have happened. He should never have been allowed on the streets. He should have been arrested in 2018, arrested in 2019, but all of these delays that had happened. And then, March 2020, here comes the pandemic, and boom, let's see how long this one will take. So,
and it gave me a little bit of a reprieve for all the bills that I had to pay too, So yeah, it made the delay a little easier because I didn't have to fork out the 600 and the 700, whatever it was,
Yeah.
Because the lenders were giving us a break, So yeah, but he was the biggest beneficiary of that for sure.
So, okay. He's got you for $100,000. Emotionally, I'm going to paraphrase, but you're falling apart. You're having a hard time keeping it together.
Yeah.
Do you ever confront him? Do you ever say, like, what the fuck, Rick? Like,
I'm not a very big guy, and he is, so no, I don't have your personality. I wish I did. I would have gotten in his face, but I was not intimidated physically, but I'm just not the confrontational guy. Maybe I am a patsy. I'm easy. I'm a loving, caring person, and I want to believe the best in people, but I'm not good at conflict. Maybe I would say in a text something a little bit more forceful, but never. When it was face to face, he always had some sort of like a calming way to make me believe that this was still going to happen. But then it slowly turned to, I don't know if you want to get into it, but you didn't tell your wife, okay? So if anybody calls you, then he started. I knew he was starting to get a little bit shaky because if anybody calls you and tells you about this stuff on the internet, I'll talk to you about it another time. I went to look on the internet and I'm like, oh crap.
So I'm going to tell you like a little piece of information that I have yet to disclose to anybody.
Yeah.
So August 21st of 2018, I wore a wire in a parking lot. And we had a court approved over here. And I forgot this in the podcast, so I want to make sure that everybody knew this. Because this may be why Rick alluded to this, alluded to something that he said to you. But something I forgot was the state of Illinois, and specifically the Lake County investigative team, by law, was required to let Ricky Dugo know before the end of the year in 2018. They had till December 31st to knock on his door and tell him face-to-face that he had been under investigation and under surveillance, and an overhear had been conducted in the past year. So they didn't give him specifics, But by the end of 2018, he knows that Lake County is investigating him because the investigative team, by law, had to let him know that he was under surveillance. So that may be why he's telling you that if you look on the internet, what have you. Also, at that same sort of time, you know, I don't want to fast forward to 2021, but I mean, he knew something was going on because in that time frame that he got you in 2019, he was actually subpoenaed to be questioned in front of the grand jury. So in December of 2019, again, right before the pandemic, he's sequestered to come in and give testimony, of which he pleads the fifth the entire time, does not answer a single question. So I know that was like kind of like a weird curveball to go into, but so let's get back into, he basically tells you not to look online, but that makes you look online.
Of course.
Like, I mean, again, what a dumb con man, right?
Yeah.
Stupid. So you look online and you see what?
I saw that there was an article. I don't know who it was. What was it, like? Ricky Dugo is something, right? I can't remember what it was.
Oh, the Dirty. Oh, you saw the Dirty. The Dirty was still up about 2019, 2020.
Yeah.
Ah, good for you.
Just like a few paragraphs telling what a scum he was and this and that, you know, but some with the boats, you know, he always talked about those boats, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you read the Dirty. I'm assuming...
but I didn't even confront him with it.
So you just knew but didn't say anything?
I just ate it. Yeah.
Okay. And I want to go back to just one point that you did say. You said that you're like you're a pacifist. You're not into confrontation.
I don't like to confront. Yep.
Yeah, and I could tell, like, when I met you in person, I left that meeting and came home and said to my wife, I'm like, man, he is a really nice guy. like, and I mean that. Like, I could just tell in your demeanor, just how you talk, and like your just overall aura about you is that you're just a stand-up nice dude. And you know, I'm sure that to Ricky Dugo, it's probably why he preyed on you and was so successful, you know. And it's not to rub that in, but it's that, you know what, we all want to see.
Mark.
Yeah, most likely you were an easy mark. And, you know, it sucks because we are usually raised to see the good in people, you know, and to be kind to one another and to not do bad things, right? I mean, our parents taught us well. And he's just the exact opposite, you know.
Yeah.
And, it sucks that there's people out there that are like him.
Mm-hmm.
So let's jump back. So, you know, like it's the pandemic. You're still on the hook. You got a little bit of a reprieve. I have to think that at some point in 2020, does anybody come looking for you?
No, not really. You'd be surprised. You know,
at a
certain point, do you know when they came to visit me at the store, the police?
I don't know the date. I do know it was in
2020?
It was 2020.
It was not cold weather, but I had a jacket on. I'm trying to picture it because I remember that meeting. It was like...
yeah, actually, I'm going to go back and I'm going to stop for a second because I think it was the fall of 2019. And the reason I say that is because fall of 2019...
You sure it wasn't 2020?
It's your story.
I wish I don't remember. You know, that I'm not good at the dates. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I thought I met him. Didn't I meet him in 19?
You did, but I thought that he started to get, because the way that, so here's how they found you, just so that you know. I mean,
Yeah.
so they actually knew that Rick had stiffed one of the hotels, and
Okay.
they went and once my spotters found them at the second hotel, they went, and after the Dugos had moved out, the investigative team went to that hotel and talked to the general manager. The general manager said that somebody had come in and paid off the bill. And Lake County requested, subpoenaed something, and saw that your credit card had been used to pay off the bill.
Yeah.
And so that's how they found you.
Yeah.
So that was in 2019. So I'd have to think they're looking for you soon thereafter to give you a heads up. But I think
I don't think so.
Okay.
It was a long time after that hotel payoff that they came.
Okay.
And they came into the store, and I think they came into the store with a feeling of, let's see if he's an accomplice or if he's a victim. That's what I gathered after. Because as soon as they told me, I completely broke down. I was bawling like a baby, like saying things like, "Oh my God, oh my God." I it's like, and then just from the way I reacted, which was a genuine reaction, it was like, "Oh my God," it was like the end, it's like, "Oh my God, I knew it." And then, like just a complete collapse. From that moment on, the investigators treated me like the victim. I mean, there wasn't even a hesitation for them to think that I was one of his accomplices. From that first interaction, they treated me very, very well all the way through. And immediately they said, "Okay, you're the victim here, not the okay." It was like they were like, I think, I'm sure that, they got to leave all doors open, right? I could be one of his many accomplices, right? So,
yeah, he had many accomplices. And so, and they knew of many accomplices because they had also been pulled in for investigations and pled the fifth with attorneys. And all right, so let's slide back a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Lake County comes to the store. They're looking for Lou.
Yeah.
And you see these. Is it Detective Tony Thies?
Yes.
Is Detective Bill with him?
There was another gentleman there. I only met him the one time.
Okay. Was he?
Tony was the only one I ever dealt with.
Right. Okay. And so they come in and what do they say to you? Do you remember?
Do you know who Ricky Dugo is? I go, yes. And that's when I knew. That's when I knew.
Yeah. It's a powerful moment.
Yeah.
I say this.
Do you know who Ricky Dugo is?
Do you know who?
It was like the words. I mean, it was like a lightning strike, right?
It is. Because you go from this feeling of maybe this is happening, but why would this guy do this to me?
Yeah.
He's praying for me. Yeah. I'm going to hold on to this hope. So you have a hope, right?
Yeah.
There's no way somebody would screw me over like this.
Yeah. Nobody would do this to somebody.
Nobody would. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when you have the validation that it has happened, so Lake County comes in and then that's the piece that I have a hard time telling anybody, really. That emotional breakdown, how you want to instantly vomit.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And you're sick, and then you want to kill somebody. You literally want to I wanted to do such bad things, and I'm like you, Lou. I'm a pacifist, but I
wanted to run away. I wanted to crawl up and just. I mean, because then the next shoe to drop is facing the family. Because at that point, I had to tell my wife what was going on. So that realization of I failed them again, because my history.
I do.
I failed them again. So it That's hard. That is hard, and it creeps in. Like I said, daily. It creeps into my life. So
I know it does.
But meeting them, it was like at a certain point, it was a revelation saying, "Okay, this is over. One way or another, this is over." But of course, then they said I couldn't tell them anything. So I was like, I had to like string it along. Still, I still had to play the game, knowing that it was over for him. But I had to keep my mouth shut and play along. It was like, oh my God! It was like watching one of those TV movies, and you're the like what you did with The Wire, but you were all in on it. I was like, oh my God! I gotta keep playing along, knowing that this is the what's happened to me, and I gotta just keep playing along until you guys are ready. And that took a long time.
Yeah, but and so you're the only one that I know of that had to play along. Everybody else had already been played. So everything for all of us, it was all over. But for you, it was all still going on.
Well, the money was over. The giving up of money was over. The giving up of, being scammed was over. But so he knew that I couldn't give him another penny. But he didn't know why I couldn't give him another penny,
Yeah.
Coming up next, we will continue on with part 2 of Lou's story and hear how becoming victimized by Dugo nearly tore his marriage apart. Sadly, when the dust settles, and as Rick sits rotting in prison, Lou is still making payments to his creditors as his debts have yet to be forgiven.